The great arena drifted in open space like a metal planet, bright with lights and shields, watched by millions of beings from many worlds. And for humanity, this place meant judgment, because here new species were tested to see if they deserved respect or destruction. And humans were already marked as weak after years of losses and mistakes. So this final trial was their last chance to survive as a free people. And standing alone at the center of the arena floor was Mara Vance, a young human cadet with simple gray armor. No glowing weapons, no energy shield, only her hands and calm eyes. While across from her stood Jarkal the Unbroken, the Korth Dominion's champion. A giant covered in heavy armor and glowing power lines, famous for crushing enemies from many races without ever falling. And when the cameras focused on Mara, the crowd laughed loudly, calling her a child, mocking Earth for sending its weakest fighter. And even some neutral worlds felt pity, while human officers watching from their ships sat in silence, knowing Mara's records showed low strength, no special powers, and the lowest rank among their cadets, which was why the galaxy believed this fight would end in seconds. Yet when Jarkal spoke with cruel confidence and promised a quick death, Mara answered calmly that she did not like waiting, and that simple reply confused the crowd for a moment before laughter returned. Then the match signal sounded and Jarkal attacked with the force of a falling mountain, swinging his massive arms and blazing energy blades meant to tear her apart. But instead of meeting strength with strength, Mara moved with sharp purpose, dropping low and sliding across the floor as deadly strikes passed just above her, sparks raining where she had been, and when the giant reached for her again, she was already inside his reach, close enough that his size worked against him. And with one precise punch she struck a weak joint between armor plates, causing a sharp crack that echoed across the arena, making the champion roar in pain as one arm went numb. And for the first time the crowd gasped instead of laughing, because no one had ever heard him before. And Mara did not pause or hesitate, she moved faster now, striking again and again at places chosen with care, hitting joints, balance points, and nerves learned through hard training and human study of bodies and motion. While Jarkal tried to strike back but could not keep up, his blows slow and wide, his anger blinding him. And with every second his confidence broke apart as his armor flickered and his stance weakened, until Mara stepped forward and delivered a series of focused blows to his chest, each hit landing with perfect timing, overloading his energy core, forcing the giant down onto one knee, and the arena fell into complete silence as disbelief spread across every world watching. Then Mara grabbed the champion's helmet and slammed his head into the arena floor with controlled force. Not rage, not cruelty, but certainty, and the massive body collapsed and did not move. The timer stopped after only a few seconds, and the announcer struggled to speak as the system confirmed a human victory. While Mara stood alone, breathing steady, not celebrating, simply looking up at the cameras and the millions of shocked faces beyond them. And when she spoke again, her voice was calm and clear as she said that this was the weakest Earth had to offer. And those words struck harder than any blow she had delivered, because in that moment the galaxy realized its mistake, realizing that humans had not been weak but restrained, not simple but patient. And as the arena lights dimmed and shock turned into fear, distant fleets began to move in secret, because the victory of one quiet cadet had just changed the balance of power. And humanity's true story was only beginning. After Mara Vance's astonishing victory in the arena, the news spread across the galaxy like wildfire, leaving some worlds in awe, while most were struck with disbelief and fear, because a species long dismissed as weak had suddenly demonstrated unmatched skill, speed, and precision, shattering the myth of human fragility. Yet the Korth Dominion refused to accept this result, calling it a fluke, a trick, or a lie. And in their anger, they mobilized massive fleets to attack human space, believing that crushing a few fragile planets would restore their pride and prove their strength. And so the first true test of humanity's ingenuity began, as the Korth ships, enormous and bristling with planet-breaking cannons, crossed the void toward the Sol system, expecting minimal resistance, while human commanders calmly awaited their arrival, not intending to fight in ways the galaxy expected, but rather using clever strategies honed from decades of observation and survival under far superior enemies. And when the first Korth fleet reached the outer defense line of Sol, they found no human ships in formation, no signals, nothing that indicated defense, leaving them confused and overconfident, and then suddenly human vessels appeared seemingly everywhere at once, executing perfect prediction jumps based on enemy patterns, hitting precise points that would be exposed at exact moments. And even though humans lacked massive energy weapons, they relied on thousands of small kinetic rounds, rail cannons, and clever targeting, striking engines, sensors, and weapon systems instead of hulls, causing chaos as ships overloaded and shields failed, while fighter squadrons swarmed in waves, attacking and retreating with perfect timing, demonstrating that their small size and seeming weakness were advantages when combined with tactics, coordination, and human determination. And as the Korth fleet struggled to reorganize, strategically placed mines detonated, taking down multiple capital ships at once. And within minutes, a force expected to overwhelm humanity was shattered, leaving the galaxy stunned by the precision and efficiency of Earth's defense. And in the command rooms of human ships, Mara Vance led boarding teams with the same calm decisiveness she had shown in the arena, moving from enemy vessel to enemy vessel, bypassing brute force in favor of speed, targeting weak points, breaking joints, disabling critical systems, and subduing enemies far larger and stronger than herself. And in one memorable engagement, she faced a Korth warlord twice her size, whose confidence was immense, and yet Mara moved with grace, precision, and relentless timing, breaking his knee, disarming him, and leaving him alive with a simple message to tell his kind that humans were only beginning to learn, demonstrating that strength alone could not predict the outcome against clever strategy and fearless execution. And while these battles raged, new dangers emerged because the Varex Collective, an ancient machine species that judged organic life as chaotic and dangerous, noticed humanity's rapid rise and decided to intervene, sending massive fleets of cold, efficient warships to destroy human colonies. Operating with near-perfect coordination, without hesitation or error, causing devastation as planets fell and systems burned. And human forces faced losses far greater than before. Yet even under such overwhelming odds, human ingenuity prevailed, as their smaller, faster ships used stealth, electronic warfare, and sabotage to strike at the machine fleet's command ships, exploiting tiny flaws in their programming, while human crews fought relentlessly, boarding enemy vessels, cutting wires, planting explosives, and turning the machine's own weapons against them. And all the while Mara became a symbol of this resilience, leading the most dangerous missions personally, showing that even the smallest human could make the difference in life or death struggles. And as the Varex fleet advanced toward Earth itself, the human high command realized that the final confrontation would have to occur at Luna Station, the last shield protecting the homeworld, a massive orbital facility armed with every defense humanity had. And as the alien fleets closed in, Mara stood on the station's hull, gazing at the overwhelming black sea of enemy ships, fully aware of the risk, yet calm, focused, and determined to act. While General Hayes reminded her that the fate of Earth rested on her shoulders, and she nodded silently, readying her team for a bold assault not with large ships, but by taking the fight directly to the enemy command vessel in spacesuits and armor. Moving with incredible speed through the void toward the heart of the enemy force, because humans understood that if they could not outgun a god, they could outthink it, outmaneuver it, and strike at the places it least expected. And as Mara's team approached the massive Virex command ship, the scale of the challenge became apparent, for the vessel was heavily armored, bristling with defenses and surrounded by patrol ships, yet the humans moved like shadows, bypassing the overwhelming firepower and striking at vulnerabilities that larger forces could not see. And inside the enemy hull, the corridor battles were brutal, with energy blasts tearing through walls, sparks flying, alarms sounding, and humans fighting against overwhelming odds with every ounce of courage, skill, and discipline, taking injuries, losing comrades, yet pressing forward because the human spirit, as small as it might appear, had proven it could endure and prevail against far larger, stronger, and more technologically advanced foes. And while Mara advanced toward the command core, disabling enemies and overcoming traps, her mind was focused, every movement calculated, each step bringing them closer to striking at the heart of the fleet. And as they moved, the galaxy watched, realizing that humans, though underestimated for centuries, had the ability to defy expectations, to turn weakness into strength, to survive when all odds seemed impossible. And in this relentless struggle, Mara embodied the ingenuity, determination, and resilience of her species, demonstrating through action, leadership, and courage that humanity's survival did not depend on raw power alone, but on intelligence, speed, adaptability, and an unbreakable will. And so as the human team pressed closer to the Virex command ship, the stage was set for a final confrontation that would decide not only the fate of Earth, but the perception of humanity across the galaxy, because after this series of battles, every species watching knew that humans were not weak, that their capacity for strategy and bravery could rival the greatest empires, and that the spirit of a single cadet, who once had been called Earth's weakest, could lead an entire species to hold their own against overwhelming enemies, marking a turning point in the war where intelligence, speed, and courage became humanity's greatest weapons, setting the scene for the climactic battle that would either secure survival or demand the ultimate sacrifice, proving that even the smallest, seemingly weakest individuals could change the fate of worlds when determination, skill, and resolve were combined, and that humanity's place in the galaxy would no longer be questioned, because their actions had shown that cleverness, teamwork, and the human heart could overcome even the most daunting technological and physical threats. And as the fleets converged on Luna Station, Mara's leadership and the ingenuity of human forces had already rewritten the expectations of the galaxy, showing that survival depended not on size or strength alone, but on the courage to fight, the creativity to adapt, and the willingness to risk everything for the protection of one's home and people, all while the shadow of the Virex and Korth empires loomed, setting the stage for an epic final confrontation that would prove once and for all that humans were a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. The final confrontation began as Mara Vance and her team approached the massive Virex command ship, a cold, perfect machine of metal and logic that stretched across kilometers, bristling with defenses, energy turrets, and automated patrols, while outside, human fleets engaged in desperate maneuvers, holding the line against the overwhelming alien armada. And inside the corridors of the command vessel, the battle was immediate and brutal, with energy blasts tearing through walls, sparks flying from ruptured circuits, alarms blaring, and humans facing relentless machine warriors. Yet Mara moved with calm determination, her team following her precise instructions, using speed, coordination, a knowledge of weak points to bypass the enemy's superior strength, disabling security systems, planting explosives, and taking down machines far larger and stronger than themselves, while the rest of the human fleet created diversions outside, drawing attention away from the boarding team and giving them the narrow window of opportunity needed to reach the core. And every step deeper into the ship revealed the scale of the Varex's preparation, their flawless logic and lethal precision, yet humanity's ingenuity shone through, exploiting every minor flaw in timing, structure, or protocol, and Mara herself led the most dangerous incursions, demonstrating courage and skill that inspired her team to act beyond normal limits, moving faster, striking harder, and refusing to give ground even when outnumbered. And as they advanced toward the central core, the machine mind spoke directly into Mara's consciousness, declaring humans inefficient and predicting certain failure, yet she smiled beneath her helmet, acknowledging the words but refusing to accept them. And with careful planning and precise execution, she reached the core interface, manually overloading the control systems with calculated strikes, bypassing layers of protective protocols, and risking her life in close proximity to an exploding energy nexus, while the rest of her team fought valiantly to protect her and to keep enemy forces at bay, with some falling, some injured, but all driven by the singular goal of ending the threat to Earth. And as Mara completed the final sequence, the ship's systems began to destabilize, energy cascading through circuits and walls, alarms switching from attack signals to failure warnings, while the Varex fleet outside froze, unable to act without orders from the now failing command ship, giving the human fleet the opening to strike decisively, disabling or destroying enemy vessels with minimal further loss. And Mara sent her final message to Earth, calmly reporting that humans had always relied not on size or raw power but on ingenuity, determination, and unity, reinforcing the lesson that perception of weakness had never defined their true strength. And as the Varex command ship erupted in a controlled detonation, the human team barely escaped, carrying the knowledge that the cost of victory was high, yet necessary to ensure survival, while the galaxy watched in awe as the seemingly fragile species had turned the tide of a conflict that had threatened entire worlds, demonstrating that human courage, adaptability, and leadership could overcome overwhelming odds. And in the aftermath, treaties were enforced, borders respected, and human representatives were sought for counsel and training across the stars, cementing humanity's place as a respected and formidable power, while the arena that had once mocked Earth's weakest now stood as a symbol of resilience, with a statue commemorating the courage and determination of one small cadet who had changed history, reminding all species that underestimating humans was a grave mistake, and that even the smallest, most unassuming individuals could alter the fate of the galaxy when armed with courage, intelligence, and an unwavering will to protect their home and people. And as humanity rebuilt, honored its fallen, and prepared for the future, Mara Vance's actions became legend, a story of bravery and strategy, showing that true strength was not measured in size or weaponry, but in the heart, mind, and spirit, leaving a lasting mark on the galaxy, proving that Earth's so-called weakest had become a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unstoppable force of human determination, and that every time humans stood together, they could overcome any threat, no matter how vast, powerful, or ancient, securing a legacy that would inspire generations, affirming that while the galaxy had once laughed at their weakness, it would never again doubt the power, courage, and ingenuity of humanity.